Hi, everybody. Happy Sunday and happy Mother's Day to any moms that might be watching. Today I'm going to be reading a poem of sorts that I wrote from my mom a couple years ago, and it is entitled Stones from My Mother, and I hope you like it. To my mom on Mother's Day, thank you for always praying, loving, believing, and encouraging. Standing on the shore, gazing out over the stream of my life, watching water wrinkle and roll in many different places. Looking inside the ripple in front of me, I see a sword-shaped stone. Reaching down, I pick it up, noticing the unusual shape, but now also seeing a word on the stone: prayers. Envisioning my mom bowed down before the throne of the Most High God, waging war on her knees on my behalf, fighting an unseen battle for my salvation, my protection, my choices, my struggles, my life. Dropping the stone back into the stream, the ripple rolls on. Glancing into another wave, seeing a red heart-shaped stone. Picking it up, I see these words: legacy of love. Flashing before my eyes, a picture of my mom, my grandma, myself, my daughters. Intertwining before me, an unbroken circle of love from generation to generation. Letting this stone fall into the water, I look for another. Catching my eye is a large brown stone, having a wood-like pattern shaped like a cross. Feeling the weight of this stone, I read these words: foundation of faith. Sensing a change beneath my feet, I look down to see the grass has turned to rock. Hearing these words sung by my mom: on Christ the solid rock I stand, all other ground is sinking sand. Tumbling heavily from my hand, the stone splashes back into the stream. Moving further down, I see the water moving tumultuously. Leaning over, I cautiously pull up a dark stone, appearing to be shaped like a storm cloud with these words: teenage turmoil. Turning the stone over in my hand, I find a rainbow on the back. Playing in my memory are these words my mom said to me many years ago and many times since: love is a choice. Every day we choose to love, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. God didn't say it would be easy, but He promised He would always be with us. Thinking back on how she chose to love me when I was most unlovable, I gently drop the stone. Rippling, the water rolls and waves before me. Pondering the stones in my own stream, making me who I am today, shaping who I continue to become. Looking up and around, I notice more streams than just my own. Reaching into my pocket, I pull out a handful of stones, reading these words: quality time, planting seeds, words of life, intentionally invest, hug more, give grace. Turning away from my own stream, walking towards the waters surrounding me, spotting my own daughters as they watch the ripples before them. Pulling from my pocket, I softly drop stone after stone into the streams of their lives. So that is I guess that's not really a poem, more of just like a creative writing that I did from my mom a couple years back, just trying to, out of the gratitude for the legacy and the heritage of love and faith and strength, not just from my mom, but from my grandma. So out of that place, just trying to honor the ways that they have added to my life. And then in turn, trying to continue that legacy forward into my own girls' lives. And that is, I don't take that for granted. because I know that not everybody gets that opportunity. Um, Not everybody gets to have a relationship with their mom like I have. Not everybody gets to carry that legacy on into the lives of their own children for, various reasons. But I definitely feel like I spent a lot of years taking that for granted and taking advantage of the fact that, excuse me, that I have these blessings in my life that that not everybody gets, and so I really have, part of my recovery process has really been trying to be grateful for the blessings that God has given me, and not just to be grateful with words, but to be grateful with actions and to be grateful with my attitude. And, really just trying to be, like I wrote in this, to be investing in my girls' lives in an intentional way, and even investing in my relationship with my mom in an intentional way, to just strengthen that bond that God has given us. And it hasn't always, the bond between my mom and I has not always been strong, especially in the teenage years. And so I'm just grateful for how God changes us. And, even as recently as probably 8 months ago, a conversation that I had with my parents where I felt like I had to let some things go that that were, standing between me and some healing that I needed. And in that conversation, both of my parents, but specifically my mom, figuratively handed me such grace. Oh gosh, I didn't even know I was going to talk about this. So I'm kind of like feeling like I'm rambling, but handed me such grace and healing on an issue that I have struggled with my whole life. And I guess more specifically, a perspective that I've always had of myself. And I don't want to go into too much detail because I didn't, I didn't ask her about sharing the details of that conversation before just talking about it here on this video. But I just am, when I really stop to think about it, I just get overwhelmed at the ways that God can still heal and restore and strengthen the things that we are willing to surrender to Him. And I can say that about, I've shared before about my struggle in parenting, especially with my older daughter, in some of my previous videos. But I can say the same for that. When I surrender my parenting and my relationship with my girls it gives God so much room to just come in and be not just the glue that holds us together, but I remember praying. My oldest daughter was just a couple days, or probably just maybe a day old. I was still in the hospital after I'd had her, and I remember holding her and just crying and asking God to be the bridge between all that we are, all that we want to be, all that we need to be, all that we're not. And I had I had no idea how much I would need that prayer throughout these years of parenting. Because being a mom is one of the hardest things I have ever done. And like I have shared previously, I got it wrong a lot more than I have gotten it right in the last, with the exception of the last 2 years. But God, in His just wisdom and His grace and all of His love and compassion, is healing the brokenness that I have caused. And there's still more healing that needs to happen. And as those things come up, it's really hard for me to face that, because I don't want to be reminded of what a mess I was and still am at times. But every single time something rises to the surface, and it's usually someone else reminding me of, how I used to be. It's really hard to look at that. But I just have to accept that is the person that I was for a good deal of my time as a mom. And I just have to surrender it every single time and just ask God to heal those things. Because while I can make different choices now, I can't do anything to change the ways that, the hurts that I have inflicted in the past. And so while I'm really grateful for the changes that I have made and the ways that, God has brought healing into my relationship with my girls, there's still always room for more and more opportunities for surrender and for grace and for change and for learning. And those are hard. So on this Mother's Day, I am filled with a lot of emotions, obviously. But I'm definitely grateful for my relationship with my mom, and the changes that I see and the healing that God has allowed in my relationship with her. And I'm grateful for the same thing in my relationship with my girls, for the healing that He has brought, and the closeness that we share, and my ability to be a different kind of mom than I was before. And I would say some encouragement that I would like to give is, if you're in that place, wherever you are in the mix, that God He's able to do more than we can ask or imagine. And that's not just Christianese. Um, it's actually possible, and I know I've shared this before, but it takes hard work, and it takes surrender, and it takes a willingness to be vulnerable and transparent, when it's easier just to be prideful and to stay stuck in those old familiar patterns. But it's definitely possible, and I'm grateful for the things that I see, happening in my own life, and I'm grateful for those every day, but on a day like this where I'm, take a little bit extra time to ponder, relationships and what I'm grateful for, and what I hope, my girls can say about me 30 years down, 20, 30 years down the line. It just really gets me very overwhelmed with emotions. But if you're in that, same place of, waiting for God to bring healing, I would just encourage you to, keep trusting, keep seeking. God is definitely going to meet you in the place where you're at, and He can do so much more than we ever thought possible. I know I already said that, but it's so true. And so I would just, and if you're in that place of waiting, to just keep drawing closer to Him, because that's where the true healing comes from, is when we get closer to God. He starts ironing out these wrinkles that have tripped us up for so long, and it's just amazing to watch how he works. It's not very fun in the process, but when you can get a little bit removed from some of the changes, and you can kind of look back and say, wow, look how far I've come. It feels pretty great. I will say that. So anyway, that is apparently what was on my heart today. Didn't even know it. But sometimes things just kind of bubble up without us even really knowing. And so I hope that everyone has a good rest of their Sunday, and a good rest of your Mother's Day. If you are struggling today, I would encourage you to reach out and, ask someone to pray for you or talk with you, because whatever you're facing, you don't have to face it alone. And I will be back tomorrow with another recovery blog. I believe it is Best Gift Ever, and it's a blog that I wrote 2 years ago, September of 2018, right around my birthday, and just talking about, just the gifts that I had received in recovery, and, what I was grateful for in those. So I'll be back tomorrow with that, and hope everyone has a good rest of their day and a good Mother's Day. And I will talk with you guys tomorrow. Bye-bye.